Thank you, Roger. Good afternoon. Welcome. It is a pleasure for me to be here on behalf of ABC of Ohio. We are excited to be able to join this pro-business consortium that really does support areas of policy that are transformational in change nature that go beyond our traditional issues. As was highlighted before with regard to Medicare, Medicaid, educational policy, we endorse all of those transformations. And I'd like to bring another issue to highlight here, and the elimination of the estate tax as well, Roger. Last year on the campaign trail, Governor Kasich, at the time a candidate, used to say, if you want different results, you need to do things differently. Well, he was elected. Ohioans elected change, both in the House and in the governor's office, and he proposed a budget that was true to his campaign word. It is transformational in nature. It does many things differently than we've done in the past so that we can get different and better results. One of those areas is, as many of you probably already know, Ohio has been engaged in a practice of inflating construction wages voluntarily since 1931. Whether or not that made any sense back in 1931 is not the point. What is clear is that in 2011, it is not the place of government to artificially handcuff itself to pay higher construction wages when it doesn't need to. That's what we do with regard to prevailing wage. The governor introduced a bill and the House passed, largely intact, a bill that makes a modest improvement on the issue of prevailing wage. By establishing, the governor introduced a $5 million threshold, the House passed a $3.5 million threshold, saying basically that projects that are under that amount do not need to be held to the inflated wages of prevailing wage when it comes to purchasing construction. Getting Ohio's construction dollar to go further, getting more for the money, doesn't necessarily mean you always spend less, but it means that your construction dollar goes further. But if you need to spend less, it gives you that opportunity to get the construction project you want for about 15% less without having to go and find additional resources. We think that was a modest improvement on where we were. It'll allow governments at the local level as well as the state level to stretch their dollars. We urge the senators to resist the temptation to do as they have in the past, which is to incrementally change things almost to a minuscule amount. Take a bold step, return the threshold that the governor proposed to $5 million, and Ohio will be better for it. And Ohio will be a lot stronger for it in an employment situation as well as the fiscal stewardship that we show to the local tax dollars, because if we do one other thing in addition to establishing a $5 million threshold, let's make prevailing wage permissive for all local government. That would be a bold change in addition to what is already in the House passed version that would go the next step. Let local governments decide whether or not they want to voluntarily tax themselves, pay a higher construction cost, or if they want to choose the more fiscally prudent area of building without prevailing wage. Let that prevailing wage fight take not over here in Columbus, but take foot at the local government level. And I think you'll find that there are a lot of local government elected officials who are willing and ready to do the right thing and to stand up for the taxpayers in their area. We must applaud the governor and the House for passing a budget and the Senate's seeming willingness to continue the prevailing wage reforms that allow us to do away with the nuisance lawsuits, not law firms, but lawsuits. In 1985, Ohio established a law that allowed interested parties to sue on behalf of, to meddle in on a case they have nothing to do with. It has provided an avenue for harassment lawsuits that operate as a hidden tax in our construction industry. Attorneys suing for these phony, unsubstantiated prevailing wage violations complaints. What happens? Construction companies have to build the cost of that litigation into future construction bids, not just public sector bids, but also private sector bids. And that then acts as a hidden tax. And I have to applaud the budget in its current form. The House has passed a good budget. The Senate seems very dedicated to actually even improving upon the ability to restrict these nuisance lawsuits, and that will also have a lessening of a cost of future construction projects in both the public and private sector. We couldn't agree more at ABC that if you want different results in Ohio, you have to do things differently. The proposal that's on the table with regard to prevailing wage is a modest step in the right direction. For 62 years, we've advocated that prevailing wage should go away entirely. The governor has taken a step in that direction, but not a huge step, just an important next step. And we're here today to encourage the senators to take that step with both the House and the governor. And I'd also like to encourage our friends who have taken that vote and who have taken that step to hold strong in the conference committee and to stick to those principles that they aptly passed when they passed their budget some weeks ago. Again, it's a privilege to be here on behalf of ABC in Ohio, our over 850 members, which probably represents, as best we can count, over 30,000 employees, to stand up at a podium with these other pro-business interest groups who represent tens of thousands of companies and working families. It's a thrill for us, and I think, I don't know that this has happened before, but it just goes to show you what a pivotal time we are, how close we are to getting a budget that can actually do things differently. But it's a big package, and it's easy to cherry pick different things and put them on the sidelines. The package is a strong step in keeping the promise that Governor Kasich campaigned on last year, which is doing things differently to get different and better results. I thank you for your attention. And I think I'm giving it, excuse me, back to Linda. Thank you.
So in conclusion, we are all standing here representing a large majority, if not most, of the job creators in our state. And we think this budget is about jobs, and that's why we created the Campaign for Jobs, and we are not going to stop until we've totally reformed this state and made sure that our economy has recovered so that every Ohioan can get a good job.